Forgot to unmute there. All right. So we're going to try and make some videos here, and I might need to share a screen. Let's see what we can do here. So our main goal here is to try and do all this stuff that you see listed in this Excel sheet. So we're going to try and basically take a video, and you can see this is a video of a child dropping a ball on my head. All right, and notice it's creating all this plot of motion over here. And eventually what I can do is I'll show you how to do all these steps, but you take a random video, you figure out where the object is moving in that video, and you can record the motion. And when you do that, eventually you can make all these different plots of motion. And eventually we want to get to these nice looking plots here. I don't know if you can tell the subtle differences behind there, but we can make high quality plots, put those in a presentation. So I'm going to show you how to do all that today. Let me get these moved back. And then let me get this back and scoot it back just so I don't forget what I'm talking about. So apologies if this is a bit of a long video. We're going to start from scratch, and I'm going to kind of walk through this one from scratch. Oops, I don't need this. All right. So this video assumes you have already made a video of a scientific experiment, and some things that you might want to look at in your video. Make sure you have an object of known size in the video, and you want to estimate the total length of motion. All right. So I'm just calling that D for right now. So let's say it moves 1 meter. D would be 1 meter. If it moves 20 meters, D would be 20 meters. You want to try to put your camera at approximately the midpoint of the motion. So, right. So if it's moving 20 meters, you want to have 10 meters to the left, 10 meters to the right. And if possible, you want to be about 2.5 times away from that motion. Meaning, let's say you're going to travel 20 meters. Ideally, 2.5 times that would be 50 meters away. Now, this might not be realistic in every situation. Maybe if you're 50 meters away, you can't see anything. But ideally, you want to be a little bit, you want the camera to be some distance away, just so the points at the left and the right edge of the frame don't get messed up by a thing called parallax view. And let's just not worry about that now. That would be great if you could do that. That's a goal. So let's say you've got these things done. Let's say you've made a video and now you want to do this stuff. You want to try and figure out all these things. So let's see how we do that. One thing you could do is, here's my video right here. I'm just going to drag it onto the shortcut for Tracker. If you have not downloaded Tracker, maybe you want to do that first. Okay, so this is going to take a minute, but there it goes. It's loading up. All right. And then typically this is very common where your video needs to be rotated. So to be clear, we've downloaded Tracker and I got the video in Tracker. You could just drag it and drop in there. Now, a lot of people need to rotate and they waste time on this. So what you do is you can right click, filter, new, rotate, and you can figure out which way you want to rotate it. For me, I want to go this way. All right, got it. So now in this case, we've done that. I need to calibrate the pixels. So the next thing I need to do is right here, calibrate the pixels. So what I need to do is I need to put in a calibration stick. Okay, new calibration stick. So notice what it says here up at the top of the page. I'll show you where I'm looking. A lot of times there's messages right here and right here. So if you're wondering where I'm reading these things, it says shift and then click to mark. So let me get out of Zoom here and then go back into here. I'm going to press shift and I'm going to click somewhere. And let's say we know the size of my head is exactly 35 centimeters. I don't know how big it really is, but let's say we know that distance right there. So I was pressing shift the whole time. Now I let go of it. That is not 296.6 meters. I'm going to say that is 0.35 meters. Okay. And I'm going to hit enter. What that does is this allows the computer to say anything that's this long is 35, but it also knows approximately how big each pixel is relative to this measurement, right? And I can even take this and move it over here now. So now we can clearly see that. So we see that this would tell them, it tells the computers, however many pixels are in this line corresponds to that many meters. That gives you a measurement of each pixel. All right, next thing I'm going to do. So let's go into here. I'm going to align the coordinate system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this button here. So we're doing this line right here. Whoops. Align the coordinate system. So right here, if I mouse over this, whoops, this is the coordinate system. Now I could drag it wherever I want. Maybe I want the ball to be the origin, the center of the ball to be the origin, right? Maybe I want my head to be the origin. I think I'm just going to use the center of the ball for right now. If you need to, maybe I'll show you something really quick. You can see that one of these axes has this extra mark on here. Give me just a second. Right here, there's an extra mark. If you grab that axis, you can spin it around. So this is the positive x-axis if you want. So let me clear all my drawings for a second and get out of the zoom annotation. So what I could do is I could actually align this. So what if my video is a little bit crooked, right? You could actually do this and line things up. So I can grab the center to move it around. And I could do this just to line it up. So that looks pretty good. It looks right up and down as best I can with the video. Maybe look at the floor, right? Maybe that's more realistic. I don't know. We'll see when we drop the ball. All right. So in just a second, okay, so now I'm done with the coordinate system and the calibration stick. So if you want, you could just click these so they aren't visible and it's easier to see. You can just click them to put them back on. That's great. So I'm going to leave them off for a second. All right, so now what have we done? I want to select the starting and ending points of the video. So watch this. I'm going back in here and I'm at the bottom of the screen. I'm hitting play. Right there, I saw the ball fall down. So what I could do is I could actually go frame by frame with these sliders. There. That looks like about the time, maybe one more frame. I'll scoot one more frame forward. One more. There. Okay, so it looks like it's starting to move right there. So what I could do is I could take this black arrow underneath. Whoops, let me show you what I'm doing here. I'm going to mess with these black arrows, and this helps me set the start and stop times in the video. So let's clear those out, get rid of the annotation tool. Should be moving. Hold on. Sorry, I didn't grab it. There we go. Right about there. Looks good. And now I could set the end to frame too. Oops, I don't see the ball anymore, so let's keep going. Maybe right about there. So now that I've got my starting and stop times, I'm just going to go hit this back arrow and play the video and see if this looks about right. So what that does is it only plays the interesting part of the video where it bounces off my head. Looks like it hits the ground there. So this looks like a pretty good number of frames. So just to show, okay, let's play that back one more time and we could see if this looks about right. We'll see if the ball seems to be going along that coordinate system. Looks about right to me. Obviously, when it hits my head, it's going to go flying off. All right, looking good. Next, now we've done everything we need. We have a calibrated video with a coordinate system, and I'm ready to add a track. I'm ready to track the motions. So let's watch this. I'm going to get rid of this coordinate system. I'm going to put this back to start. Maybe, there we go. And I'm going to hit track, new, point mass. If you've used Tracker before, maybe you know about auto tracking and this and that. I don't think it's worth your time. Read what it says right down here in the corner. It says, hey, if you want to make a track, press and hold shift. So press and hold it and don't let go for the entire time. You could try and do auto tracking, but I personally think it's a complete waste of time because we'll be done with this. You'll see how quick this is just doing it manually. Let me clear my annotations. I am now pressing shift and I'm holding shift. And notice the message says, click the mouse to mark. So I'm just going to try. You can either click the leading edge of the ball or the center. And this is a typical problem. I click it. And notice I haven't let go of shift. I'm just holding on. Now the ball moves. I try to always click the middle. You kind of have to guess. Notice it would have been nicer to use a different colored ball that has better contrast. So, or try to pick an object that has good contrast. I'm just trying to mark the ball the best I can. Still holding shift. I haven't let go. Right? Now, auto tracking does get rid of this sometimes, but a lot of times, if the ball is moving very quickly, auto tracking won't work. So, again, you make your decision and decide what you want to do. Auto tracking requires it. Since I'm just doing this, I want to just get a good data set here. Auto tracking will require you to pick a certain color in the video, and it will often just look for that color and put a track there, which works great if your video is never blurry and the only thing of that color is the object. So if you use a tennis ball and have a perfectly blue background, that will work great. Let's call that, I don't know, that's about right. Okay, so now we're just trying to learn a little bit, so I'm going to call that good. So far, so good. So what have we done? We've downloaded this and got all the way through to marking the object. So now we need to do these steps. I need to get this information over to Excel or Google Sheets or something that is more usable. So the first thing that you do is right here in the corner, you can click this sorry, you click table. My apologies. You click table and we click the things that we want to display. Now we know it's going to display the time. All right. So what I want to do is I don't want X. I could care less about the X motion. I'm looking basically at the Y motion right here. Okay. So I want to see position, VY, and AY. So I'm going to close this out and notice I've got this data here. Now, if you want to get a quick look at it and see if it's working, you could actually show these things, right? And that kind of looks like the trajectory that we expected. To move down, then back up, then back down. You could look at the velocity in the Y direction and things like that. But for me personally, I don't like to waste time on this on Tracker because I can't edit it. So I'm going to hit Control A for all, select all. So again, I click a random cell in here in the table, Control A, Control C. I check that I've got all my data, T, Y, V, Y, A, Y. Again, you might have X and VX and AX, whatever. I come over here and I can paste this data in right here. Whoops. Right? Whoops. Let me undo that. I think I'm not in the right spot. There we go. So I could paste all that data in and we see it. All right. I'm just going to get rid of this data point here. Cool. So now we're done with the tracker portion. I could close that down or let's just open this up instead. So what have we done? We have gotten the data over here into Excel. Now, obviously you could highlight these and make plots, and that's what these are right here. But these plots look pretty crappy, to be honest. So it's not very easy for people that have to look at them. There's no axis labels. There's too many grid lines, all kinds of things. So I'm going to delete these and show you. I did some formatting. That'll show you how to do in a separate video. But the idea is you get your plots in this form, and we have an XT graph, or sorry, a YT graph. This is a VY graph, and this is an AY graph, or sorry, AT graph. Geez, I'm tired. Let me say that one more time. YT, VT, and AT. Obviously, you could have XT, VT, and AT. And so when you get your formatting, obviously you should have a template done. You could just apply that template and that speeds up the formatting. All right. And then to finish this out, you need to identify key regions here, make extra copies of those regions, figure out the slopes and areas, and figure out the relationships between the plots. But just as an example, in this case, let me show you something here. Let me see if I can get this plot here. So if we look at this plot of motion here, again, the middle one is VY. So let's just look at this one. Let's say we're looking at VY. And let's say I bring back up that tracker video. All right, if you look at this thing, let's rewind this. And just so to be clear, notice we have velocity Y here. It's kind of hard to see where the main axis is. The main axis, if I label it, make that main axis big. This is the main time axis, right? So notice it looks very similar to this one. So these two data sets, this and this, are similar. But if I play this one, watch the motion and see if it makes sense when you watch the video. So let me clear these drawings out. See, it's moving down, negative velocity. When it hits my head, it gets a small upwards velocity, then it goes down again. So there we go. And so the slopes of these things and the displacements relate to things. Let's call it good. Let's end that